welcome to the Wrap Up Live. This is the official Raptors Republic Live post-game show where we recap the latest game you just watched. I'm your host, Sahal Abdi. I'm here with Oren Weisfeld and Aiden Moss, two co-hosts. And tonight, unfortunately, once again, we are here after a Raptors loss. Your Raptors were defeated by the Phoenix Suns, 114-106, bringing the Raptors record 6 games below 500 to 23-29 on the NBA season. And last but not least, if you love the Toronto Raptors, do us hardworking individuals at Raptors Republic a favor and subscribe to our YouTube channel as well as our podcast channel wherever you're watching or listening. All right, boys. I said before we went live, this isn't as fun to do, of course, after a Raptors loss. This loss came at the hands of the Suns in Phoenix, where they have a pretty good record. I could pull it up, but the Suns have been a strong team at home for about 3 seasons now, and they are not as strong of a team as they were last season. And a lot of that, I think, has to do with their main star Devin Booker going down with injury. He did not play in this game. He's still out with a groin injury. And in this game, the Raptors were competitive. They looked like those flash in the pan Raptors, 2021-2022 Raptors that we loved seeing. We saw that for some moments in the game, and then once again, Aiden and Oren, everything seemed to just fall apart near the end, and the Raptors could not hold the lead. Suns went on a little run, and then maintained the run. Aiden, what did you think about the end of the game there, and how the Raptors kind of just capitulated once again?
Yeah, it's tough to see that. I think the shooting was again a problem from 3 and of late particularly, and you could probably directly correlate that to fatigue. The guy, like those 5-6 guys, those 5 guys were carrying the bulk of this game, and we just didn't hit wide open shots when we had them, and that was just kind of the deal breaker. There's a lot of other things that went on during the game, like early turnovers, some forced shots, whatever else. But I think at the end of it, it was just our bench didn't give us enough. The guys had to come in, and they just didn't have what it took to carry to the end.
Yeah, definitely just not having enough. Like, OG goes down. I've seen a lot of people say how, well, it's not that big of a deal. Precious can fill in what OG does. And I actually think that's true to an extent in the starting lineup, but that just means you have no bench now. Like, Boucher is your only kind of reliable bench piece, and even Boucher, as we've obviously talked about, can be hit and miss, but he's like by far now your most steady bench guy. I thought Thad gave them good minutes. Juancho was really bad. Like, Juancho was really not good today. Chris Paul was just targeting him and hitting step back threes over him. Malachi, I didn't think was good despite hitting a couple shots.
I didn't think Juancho did a terrible job. Chris Paul hit some really nice threes over top of him. The thing with that, and like they ran that Scotty plus the 4 lineup for a while, and it like I think they were like treading water, but like kind of drinking water, treading water. Like I think they were just prolonging an ultimate death.
Yeah.
But one thing that frustrated me with that is they weren't running stuff through Thad or Scotty in a more like calculated way. Like, those 2 guys are very clearly the only playmakers of that unit. And it was frustrating to kind of see them running. They ran those like inverse picks with Flynn and Scotty twice in a row and whatever. But just as an aside, I was frustrated that they didn't use Thad more in those lineups.
Well, that's a good, like, I was watching that lineup and I was kind of thinking, like, this is the future people want to see, like the blow it uppers. This is what they want, right? Scotty at PG, Malachi.
Is that what we're calling them, by the way?
Malachi
happy?
Are
you freaking happy?
I was literally like, and like, look, Scotty's really getting better. He is in a lot of ways, but he's still, I think, a way better play like advantage extender or finisher than he is an advantage creator. And we saw that in those lineups. He couldn't break down his guy. Malachi obviously couldn't break down his guy. And there was just no one to create the advantage in the first place. So like the only points they got were like Malachi heaves from 3 off like an offensive rebound or whatever. So yeah, that lineup was pretty ugly.
Speaking of
very
OG, by the By the way, sorry, so I'll let you go in a sec. But speaking of OG, you know who would have guarded McCall Bridges tonight? Would have been OG.
Sure, but okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but here's my thing. I've always compared McCall and OG to each other because like they had very similar trajectories, and McCall has just taken such a leap on ball
Yeah,
as a shot maker, and
his mid range especially.
I don't think it's a debate anymore in terms of like
His
what
mid range is beautiful.
I'm just saying, OG would have locked him up. Like he had free, like he
Yeah,
was
that's
rolling
true.
tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah. I tweeted mid game that the Raptors, I believe it was midway through the fourth, the Raptors had 5 bench points and they were somehow leading the game just before they fell apart. And yeah, I mean, I'm at the point now, guys, and I think I can do this. The Raptors are pretty poor this season where I can start singling out guys and not feeling like the A word while doing it. Juancho Hernan Gomez, just for me, this is, I think, the second game or third game consecutively where I've seen him sub in and immediately get attacked, especially by guards. And I just don't understand. Like, if you play 7 minutes in this game, right, and you're a -8, 7 minutes, and you're a -8, like something, you're responsible for something. And I think it was just clear that Chris Paul is, I mean, besides LeBron, probably the highest basketball IQ left in the league. Any substitution the Raptors make, he's going to be watching and he's going to be trying to diagnose, okay, how do we beat this guy if this guy's coming on? What is he good at? What is he not good at? And I mean, Hernan Gomez, it's clear that if you can get a guard to switch on him, he's a massive defensive liability. I think it goes for most, obviously, bigs in the league. When you can get a guard switch and you're defending a guy that's 8 inches smaller than you, you're going to have a tough time. But I think with Juancho in particular, it's tough to watch a guy like that just get absolutely torched by a guy like Chris Paul. And when you make a substitution, when Nick Nurse is making these substitutions, he's expecting energy, and he's expecting something to change in a positive direction for the Raptors. And I think when you bring in some of these guys and it's an immediate run for the opposing team, you start to kind of see why, the 5 starters are getting 40 minutes every single game. Pascal had 38, Fred with 39, Gary with 37. They're all hovering around 40 minutes. Chris Boucher did play 24 minutes, but this didn't feel like a Chris Boucher game at all for me. Like, he just honestly felt like he wasn't there for me. I know he had 11 rebounds and he was fighting on the glass, but only 5 points in 24 minutes is not the Chris Boucher we're used to, especially when everyone else on the bench isn't really doing much in terms of handling the scoring load. So it's tough. Like you said, Oren, it's tough watching a team that doesn't have, advantage creators coming off of the bench, guys that can just go get you a bucket. And I think we're past wondering what the solution is, because I think it's very clear. It's crystal clear at this point what the Raptors lack in size and shooting and rim protection. But so, I mean, there's no point to kind of just go over it again and say what the Raptors need. But it's tough over and over again, just seeing the Raptors get defeated in the same aspect, game after game after game. It's tough.
Yeah, but it's not
whether
just
OG's there or not for me.
It's not just shooting and height. Like, I think we're winning the game against the Warriors, and we're winning the game tonight if we have a bench. Like, if we have
I
guys
should
that
say
can
shot creation.
Pardon me.
I should say shot creation rather than shooting, but shooting also, because
both. Yeah, but
Yeah.
if we can roll out 1 or 2 guys that we could faithfully rely on, and again,
Yeah.
I don't mean to beat a dead. I mean, the other thing like Juancho's irrelevant. Like, it's supposed to be Otto Porter's minutes, right? So like we're stuck with what we have. But I just feel like this is a question of balance, and it's like you've got 6 guys that you can rely on. Why are you playing all 5 of them like most of the same minutes at the same time? I just think they should be distributing those minutes more. And the thing is, Nurse was like, there was that little stretch where he figured it out. It was Juancho and Koloko early in the first, Scotty and Gary come out in the second, and it was working. Like, the lineups were staying above water, and he went away from it. And we're back to this problem where we lose those critical minutes. We're in a hole. We got to bust our asses to get back into it. And we're pooched when there's 5 minutes left. Like, it's just such a predictable sequence of events.
Yeah, I've kind of said this all season. I think there are some guys on the bench who I do trust. Thad, Boucher, Koloko, but obviously Precious when OG's healthy, but they all play the same position. And like there's just not enough ball handlers and advantage creators to put those guys in the positions they need to be put in to succeed. And part of that is spreading out the minutes in an ideal situation where we have a rotation where there's always one ball handler on the floor and the bench is kind of ideally set up to get the most out of those guys. But as Amit put it in this comment, let me get the comment. It's game 52, and Nick played a lineup at the start of the fourth quarter that had never played before, and that's my issue. Like, I really want to get off this soon because Nick doesn't have a lot of options in terms of which guys, but he's just still searching. And
but is it searching when you're throwing shit at a wall? Like, it's not. There's no algebra to it, or like. There's no calculation, it seems. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but
no, that's what I'm saying. My problem is like he's still searching in game 52, and I wish he had just settled on a rotation and gone with it. But I guess this is just the coach that he is. At the same time, though, I'm not sure any combination he played off the bench would have been enough tonight. So maybe let's move on to some positives.
We can move on, but I do think a guy like Juancho, for example, is more hideable and can buy you more minutes when he's playing with 4 starters. Well, I'll stop there.
For sure.
Yeah.
Let's talk about positives.
Yeah, positives. Okay, let's do that.
Let's talk Freddie.
I want to highlight really quickly one player in particular, Scotty Barnes. And one defensive possession. Hopefully I can pull it up. Or I don't know. You're really fast at this. I don't know if you can pull it up. There we go.
It's literally up.
This possession here, because I know a lot of times Raptors fans this season have kind of been disappointed with Scotty, with his effort and sometimes his body language on the court. And I think in this particular possession, you talk about a guy who's doing absolutely everything in his power to stop this Phoenix Suns offense in this possession. I mean, he starts at the bottom. He's battling Dario Saric, right? We're talking about 5 minutes left in the second quarter, 5:20. Runs back outside, contests Saric on the pump fake, then gets back inside, contests him on the shot attempt, and then DeAndre Ayton with the offensive rebound contests DeAndre Ayton. That's also a miss. So, like, he was absolutely everywhere, and I commend this so much because when the youngest player on your team is showing this type of effort, it's incredible, right? And body language has been a thing, guys. No one wants to really say it, but it's been a thing this season for the Raptors. It's been horrible. And normally you kind of expect that sometimes for a team that sits where do the Raptors sit right now in the Eastern Conference? 12th still. 12th. Or are they 11th? Okay. I'm just updating the score. I mean, the score says 12th. So I'm going to go with 12. 23 wins, 28 losses. It's not a team that even I noticed on some Fred VanVleet and one kind of opportunities, the team just doesn't look that exciting. And that's why I love kind of bringing up possessions like this where you could really take out the positives, whether it's a particular player or not. I think if you look at the rest of the Raptors on this possession as well, they look great as well. 5 minutes left in the second quarter. So I really wanted to point out that possession because for me, that was the best defensive possession that the Raptors played all game, and a lot of that had to do with their sophomore player Scotty Barnes.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you brought it up. Like, first of all, the criticism Scotty got early in the year was warranted. He wasn't playing very hard, and he wasn't playing good defense. Yeah. However, he's completely.
I think he's also injured too.
Maybe. However, he's completely looked different on both ends of the floor. He's playing the best basketball of his life. He has highs in points and assists in the month of January for like a month in his career. So he's taken the jump, and it's what we've been asking for. So it's really nice to see. But I'm glad you brought up the defense because I thought the best, like when Scotty came into the league, he was thought of as a defensive prospect. And it was because exactly this, like he could switch theoretically 1 to 5 because he has the foot speed and he's a big body to guard fives. And so I thought the Raptors had the most success defense tonight when Scotty was on Chris Paul, and you enter the game, you go, why is Scotty on Chris Paul? Why isn't Fred? And the reason is because they run a pick and roll offense, and if you put Fred on Chris Paul, you can't switch Fred onto Ayton. So this is another clip that they were doing all game, at least, especially when Scotty was on Chris Paul in the game. And honestly, I thought Nick should have tied his minutes closer to Chris Paul's because I thought they had so much success. Was they were just switching this pick and roll. Scotty goes and covers Ayton. They did the same thing in the last possession. And Ayton had a, but Precious can stay in front of Scotty. I mean, in front of CP, and then Barnes can switch on to Ayton. That's what makes him such a special guy. Is like he can defend 1 through 5 in certain situations. There are some guards who are way too quick for Scotty in isolation that this isn't viable with, but like a Chris Paul, it's a perfect situation where he's more of a pick and roll guy. And yeah, I thought they had a lot of success when Scotty was the primary on him.
Yeah, there are points in this game where DeAndre Ayton was in hell, and I know people will look at the box score at the end of the game and say, you know what, he had 22 points. I think it was like 13 rebounds, if I'm not mistaken. And he did shoot over 50% in this game, but I think Scotty really, really made life difficult for him underneath the rim. A lot of offensive rebounds. You saw Scotty, Chris Boucher, guys like that battling down low, which is huge. And funny enough, DeAndre Ayton is one of those guys that's been linked to the Raptors in these trade rumblings, and Aiden's already shaking his head. OG has as well. OG did miss the game. But after watching a game like this, I mean, I was a lot more open to the hypothetical of DeAndre Ayton joining this team until I saw this game. And I know that sounds weird because you look at the box score, like I said, but man, oh man, if a guy like Scotty Barnes, who, I mean, let's be fair, Scotty Barnes' effort has been up and down this year, is giving you that level of trouble underneath the rim. I don't know if that's the solution, especially for what you would have to give up to acquire a guy like that. Yeah, Aiden, what did you think about DeAndre Ayton?
I thought Phoenix's strategy of just feeding him the ball nonstop was smart. That it really did hurt us. And I don't think Ayton played that. I think Ayton had a solid game. I just don't think even though he's a big, I don't think he fits what this I could just foresee him in a Raptors jersey and not, like finishing plays or like putting in that kind of like effort or intensity that the Raptors kind of like expect of in their culture. But I thought he played quite well tonight.
He had a fine game, but it's just kind of when you think about which guys he has to score over, it was mostly like Scotty, Pascal, guys who are really undersized, and he just always turns to that jump hook instead of like anything like aggressive at the rim. Exactly. It's just always the soft stuff, and it's like.
But he did have a couple of putbacks and stuff though that were like quite aggressive. Like he threw himself at the rim multiple times. So
and he had a huge offensive rebound at the end of the game.
Yeah. At the end, yeah. I'm looking at the box score. I just realized now the Suns went 12 deep in this game. You don't see that often from any NBA team. That's pretty crazy. Saban Lee, who was, I believe, he was on the Raptors 905 earlier this year.
Yeah,
right?
He was. I thought Damian Lee was great though. Like we need a shooter like that off our bench who just isn't afraid to shoot it. Like he had one where he shot, got the offensive rebound, just shot again, made the second one.
Ish actually played pretty well too, considering. Sarge killed us too. Like Sarge is the kind of guy. I'm not like, I don't love Sarge, but he's kind of like the guy that Sahal's talking about for our team, which is like he is comfortable doing his own thing with the ball offensively. Like you can put him out there and he can kind of like go to work a little bit. And he did hurt us during those bench minutes. Can we talk about Freddie?
Go for it.
Yeah, absolutely. You can start.
I just think it was another mediocre shooting night from him, particularly at the end. But he is just like really not blowing me away, but like he's just like really impressed me lately. I feel like he's picking early on. The team was a little bit stagnant, but he really started to get going, especially in the screen rolls. Like, he's been navigating screen rolls so well of late, and I think part of that is it seems like his burst is back. Like, his change of pace in the pick and roll has been really tight. And then he's finishing in the lane in a number of ways, including mid-range, finishing at the rim much better than he has in the past. His passing has been better, and he just seemed, for the most part, he just seemed to be choosing his spots tonight. And it's kind of like the inverse of him and Pascal, whereas like I feel like Pascal was really forcing things tonight when it wasn't coming to him, and he looked tired. Whatever, we can talk about that. But I was just really impressed by how Freddie again played within himself and within the flow of the team or the game for the most part in consecutive nights.
Yeah, Fred's, I think, had a really good month of basketball, and I just wanted to pull this up just to illustrate kind of what he's been doing this month. He's at 20.6 points, 7 assists, and 5 rebounds. But I think one of the biggest things, if you just look at the last, what does it show? The last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games. One turnover in a lot of those games with a lot of the ball handling responsibility, right? 0 against the Portland Trailblazers on January 8th. His assist to turnover ratio has been incredible. He's really been taking care of the basketball. And I think when you watch Fred VanVleet in the last month relative to the first 3 months of the season, you see a totally different player. You see the guy that we were watching last season, right? And I know in this game,
these stats are quite old.
Yeah. Oh, we're looking at the beginning of January. Sorry.
Just
FYI. I can pull it a bit lower.
But I hear you. Oh, there we go. There's the juice.
There we go. So that was the beginning of the month for our listeners. But even if you look down here, right? Oh my gosh. I'm scrolling way too hard. He's at 24 points tonight. The night before that, he did struggle. He had 11 points, but 28, 17, 28, 25, 39, 33. So that, and then he had struggled a little bit again for 3 games, and then had a really good beginning of January as well. So Fred's looked much, much more comfortable this month, which I think is huge for the Raptors. And I think they play better as a team when he plays like that all-star that they were expecting this season. So
look at the assists those last 3 games too. 9, 9, and 10.
Yeah, he's definitely in a new role where he's more passive on offense. You saw him take that one pull-up 3 early in the shot clock, deep pull-up 3. I thought it was a terrible shot.
Horrible.
But he usually takes a lot of those shots and just kind of makes them enough where you don't think it's so horrible. He's completely cut those out of his diet. He took one tonight again, but one for him is not many. And it's because, like we talked about last episode, Siakam and Barnes are really running this team. And the third quarter, the beginning of the third quarter, when the Raptors just came out storming, it was all Siakam and Barnes just playing that 2-man game and leading the charge. And obviously Siakam didn't have a great game. To me, he shoots jumpers in the first quarter, which makes him so hard to guard. And he just stops shooting jumpers recently, in the second half of games. And I assume that's a fatigue thing. So the All-Star break will be big for him. But yeah, I agree about everything with Fred and his kind of new role where he's more of a facilitator. It makes a lot of sense. If we're ready, I want to talk about someone else.
Well, just quickly on the Freddie, he had another one where he got the ball in the corner, and normally he jacks that, and he immediately passed it to Boucher, who hit it. Yeah. And then the Pascal front, he's not getting those calls anymore. And I assume his free throw attempts are down. I know Devlin was talking about it, but he seems to he's not getting those calls where he's getting hipped out of the paint or whatever, and kind of leaning or fading outwards, demonstrating that he's been fouled or whatever. And that seems to have really kind of thrown him off of late.
Yeah. I want to talk about Precious though again.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, it's I just feel like he does everything that this team needs, and
He's so
I have this
important.
clip, so I want to just show it, but this isn't even like the offense is crazy. The development on offense is crazy. Like I still have no idea if he's a shooter or not. We'll find out, but his touch around the rim and through contact is like night
Yeah.
and day from what we saw
Yeah.
even at the end of last season. He
I
had a
love that
different
clip.
one where it was a lot more contact and yeah, but this is another dirty move.
Woo.
At the rim. He just used to have no swag at the rim, like no moves, and now he's doing stuff
And
like
no
this.
hands either.
Yeah, now he's doing stuff like this, which is clearly like improv. I'll stop right there.
Improvisational.
Yeah. But more importantly, it's the rebounding and the defense for me. Like
Yeah,
he
for sure.
he does exactly what we've been begging for all season when he was injured. He gets 5 offensive rebounds tonight, but like on the defensive boards, he's a beast. And he'll come help when like Boucher is like tapping a rebound up, struggling with it. Precious will just be like, F this, and just jump in and take it from his teammate because no one else is like as assertive as he is. So I think between the rebounding, the defense, and I was saying earlier, he can switch 5 to 1 where he's starting on the 5 and then switch onto the 1, and like he's amazing at staying in front of guards. So yeah, I said this last episode, but having like a starting caliber center who just like knows their role and like does the little things on the margin can take a team from good to great. And I just want him to start for the rest of the season because I think if he does that by the start of next season, we will have a real starting caliber center, like an average maybe level starting caliber center, and that would be huge for them.
Would do you want a center with Precious at the 4, or are you saying
No.
Precious as the center?
No, I think Precious is a center. I think he's best as a center. There's definitely going to be lineups and stuff where he plays the 4, and that's kind of another thing that makes him special, kind of like an Ibaka. But I think he's best at center, and he should start there.
For sure. And you look at his January kind of statistics, and the thing that it's clear is you look at the first half of January, his minutes just hover anywhere around from 5 to 26 minutes, and then you start seeing the last 5 or 6 games, he's in the 30s, right? Like the trust is there with Nick Nurse, and I think from what I've seen, Oren and Aiden for the last 2 weeks from Precious, it's become even more clear why Precious is a complete tradable player for the Raptors. Like he is a guy that has to be one of the linchpins, I think, of this team besides Scotty Barnes. And for me, at least, Pascal Siakam, those 3 players, I think, have to be the guys that are just your untouchables. He looks incredible. And you said you're not sure just yet. You're not convinced just yet, Oren, of his shooting. Me, I am. And I'm okay with it. In a season like this, I mean, like I said, you're sitting at the 12th seed. You want to shoot 4 or 5 threes a game, Precious? Sure. And that's one thing I wanted to mention, guys, in particular for you. I felt like the Suns didn't really respect his 3 at all in this game. They were leaving him wide open, and there was a specific play I really should have got us to clip it where Chris Paul completely disrespected him on the 3-point line, and Gary Trent, found him after they doubled him, and Precious didn't shoot it. And Precious gave it back to Gary Trent and tapped his chest like, that's my fault.
Bad.
Like, I got to shoot that next time. Yeah. So
he's been looking off the 3 quite a bit lately.
Yeah. No, I just meant I don't know if he's a good 3-point shooter. I want him to take some.
I'm all in, Oren.
Yeah. I do want him to, and he has touch. There's no doubt. Like he even had like that mid-range shot at the free throw line last game. He has touch. I want him to take threes. I think long term he'll be a 3-point shooter. But I just meant right now I have no idea. But just for our podcast listeners who can't see the screen, it says liking Precious like I'm Gollum. It's a little Lord of the Rings joke for you guys.
Just for everybody out there, I just want to highlight how good I am at
my job.
Humor.
Yeah. Pretty good. 5 stars for that alone.
Well done, Oren.
That was good.
Well done.
Thanks.
That was good. We love Precious.
I saw the joke on Twitter.
So you stole it. It's not even yours.
So you stole it.
I stole the joke on Twitter.
Yeah.
I changed the words. I just saw someone compare. Yeah.
I mean, it's not the largest jump to make.
Yeah, it's pretty good. So.
It's not.
Anyways,
what else do you guys want to mention in this game?
Well, I wanna before we could take some listener comments if people have questions, but before you do that, I just want to talk about a company
Something
called
really important to Warren. Really
called
personally
Manscaped.
important.
Manscaped. I have to. It's funny you said that about the 3-on-3 tournament. I didn't wear the Manscaped boxers there. However, the boxers, I don't know if you guys have been wearing them, but they're like my most comfortable pair of boxers. Like they're really, really
Easily.
great
Easily.
material, great stuff. And then also the lawnmower, I've been using that on my private area, and it's a great product. Here you see the lawnmower 3.0, $70. And if you use the code RAPUP, RAPUP, you'll get 20% off Manscaped products and free shipping. So go to manscaped.com, take a little browse, and use our promo code. It helps the show. RAPUP, RAPUP. They have tons of great products, from oils to stuff
Clippers.
like the lawnmower to boxers. So yeah.
Where do the boundaries end on private area? Like how wide of a hemisphere are you going?
What does that mean? Like, yeah, you could
Like,
shave your whole body with this.
Like your
you
stomach, or you get into your bum? Like, where are you going?
I'm not like, because I just don't shave my body, but if you wanted to take a full, like, you totally could with this product.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is your question, what am I doing?
I mean, I'm just kind of curious where private area starts and ends for you, but also
I
where
think
you're
your
going
private
with
area
that
goes
lawnmower.
from like under your belly button to like your thighs.
The stomach really is an underrated sensual part of the body.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not your private area though.
No, it's not.
Yeah. Do you shave your stomach or your chest or anything, guys?
No.
All right, good talk.
Okay,
Manscaped.
cool.
Go to
Good
manscaped.com.
ad read.
Great ad read.
That was
great
great.
ad read. Great ad read.
That was great. Are you guys, just a side note, with Pascal Siakam, really quick before we end it off here? Have you guys been a little kind of worried with Pascal Siakam in the last 5 or 6 games? Or really just January? I feel like we've seen a little bit more of a dip from Siakam than we're used to seeing. I don't know if it's a fatigue thing. I'm not 100% sure, but I just feel like Pascal was almost a guaranteed kind of superstar performance every night for the first couple months of the season. And now we're starting to see low games from him, which I'm just not kind of used to seeing. I don't know if I should be concerned. I don't know if it's someone in the comments says he's running out of gas. I don't know if it's that. Could be. I mean, he's played a ton of minutes.
Yeah. That's what I think.
from TSN tweeted something about his minutes that I retweeted. I think it's like first in the NBA in January in terms of total minutes or something along those lines. But yeah, are you guys worried?
I'm not really worried, just because I think it is the fatigue, and I only think that because like it's so hard to determine injury, fatigue, just a rough spell. It's so hard, but the fact that he's not even shooting jumpers anymore tells me that it's a fatigue issue, especially because he does it early in games. And even tonight we saw them go in early and then he just stopped. So yeah, he was definitely passive tonight and they could have used more of him. But I think it's a fatigue issue, and Nick Nurse deserves blame for that one.
Are you?
Yeah, and
I think it's all of Nick Nurse's fault though, or do you think it's just? Yeah, for me, I think it's more of them lacking a bench than anything. I think Nick Nurse just doesn't have kind of trust in anybody not named, the starting 5 or 6 guys that they usually play. I don't know. I just feel like the long-term outlook for Pascal is kind of scary when you have to play him 40 minutes if things become status quo and nothing changes at the trade deadline, the bench isn't bolstered or anything, right?
But like, how much worse would this team be record-wise if they just said we're playing our starters 35 minutes a night max and we're going with this same rotation every night? Like, I feel like the team would be pretty much just as good, and bench guys would be getting more run and by now they would have some more chemistry and some more rhythm. So in that sense, I think it's a bit of Nick Nurse's fault, but I'm not saying they have a good bench.
Yeah. It also doesn't help that they do not. I mean, I tweeted before the game they were 2-9 in games decided by 3 or less points this season. So they just don't know how to close out games this year either. So that doesn't help. Aiden, what did you want to say? Sorry, I cut you off. I think midway through, you were saying something.
No, it was my thing was lagging. I don't even remember. It's okay.
Matt asks,
All right.
do you think
let's take-
Nick Nurse will be the long-term head coach of the Raptors?
Well, there's
You
some
guys
reporting today too,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, I read a little something.
Shams,
I wouldn't call it
Shams
reporting.
Sharania's-
I would barely call it
Jesus
reporting. Man.
Christ, that one, like, I think he came home.
Does Shams have CTE? I'm sorry.
I think he came home like 2 a.m. He was just on a Tinder date. He'd slammed like 4 Jack Daniels and gingers,
Yo.
and realized he had a deadline in like 3 hours and pumped it out.
What the
Like, that was
No,
so
that sentence.
bad.
There was one sentence that was like such a long run on
Yo.
sentence, and it was basically just saying the Raptors are going to wait until deadline day to decide what they're going to do. It's like,
According
is
to
that
sources.
reporting? Like, that's not reporting. I could have told you
He
that.
was trying so hard to beat that word count. It was. I was reading it and I was laughing.
This is a good NFL joke. Did you
Oh
guys
my
watch
God.
the 49ers game?
Yeah.
Yes, I did. Yeah,
That's
for
my
sure.
brother's team, and I was like, your team has so much CTE, man. Like the
crazy.
defense, yo, the guy punching the ball, something happened.
You
to
saw
him.
that, right? Yeah.
Something happened to him.
Yeah. Something's
And the
going on.
penalty on the quarterback, he
Warren.
was like 5 feet out of bounds already by the time the man
CTE is
pushed him.
not a laughing matter, man.
Yeah,
Are you
I shouldn't
serious?
laugh, to be honest. I really shouldn't. It's
Are
something.
you guys serious? You
No,
can't make
like,
jokes
no,
about
I laugh.
CTE anymore. I'm not saying any individual
okay.
player has CTE. I'm just
I
saying
mean,
the
yeah,
team
if you're
does.
not punishing a player,
That's
but
like
I mean,
calling somebody the R word. It's like CTE is a serious condition.
Okay, well, I didn't think it was that bad to joke about. It's
Okay.
obviously a harmless joke, and I'm not talking about the condition.
you're
I'm
not
just
alone.
saying-
What I will tell
Let's
you is
get
you're not
back
alone
on
'cause
making fun of Shams.
I've done the CT stuff on my Twitter before.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
lying.
it's a little joke. I'm
this
not. I obviously, if we want to get deep
If we
into
wanna-
it, yeah, it's a real problem.
If we want to highlight how funny we are, my tweet was, what was the FanDuel's over-under for run-on sentences for Shams Sharani's article? Because it was just so bad.
Yeah, that's the thing. But the back to the reporting thing, like
Yeah.
I saw the Nick Nurse thing too, and it was like people are unhappy in Toronto. That was basically the reporting. It's like I don't know if that's enough to go off of where we can now speculate about Nick Nurse's job security, right? Like we still don't have enough information for me to like say anything about.
Plus, it's such a vague
job
comment. It's
security
like you could
changing.
say that about any team that's not in the playoff race. Like you could literally, like I could just write an NBA notebook and just be like, all right, well, a couple players on the Orlando Magic are not happy, and a couple players on the Pistons are not. Like it's like, of
Yeah, the
course,
Raptors
like,
were never gonna like show their hand before the trade deadline. Why would they? Doesn't make sense.
It'd be interesting to write a trade deadline report in ChatGPT like Shams Sharani and see what comes out. I would. That's too easy to do. If someone wants to do it and post it in the chat, please do. But
our comments are hilarious today. I'm sorry if I just keep laughing. Our comments are funny.
Okay, well, let's take a couple of questions and then GTFO.
Yeah, Dow asks, anyone know why Banton hardly played this season? Not saying he's the answer to our problems, just curious. He had a hip injury for a while that was keeping him out. Today was the first day he was available on the bench. So that's why he hasn't played. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think he's the answer either, but I would like to see him get some of those Flynn. I think Flynn's had a good chance. He hasn't really made the most of it. I'd like to see Banton get into the rotation personally.
Yeah, Flynn, I think, had a little spell where he was showing something for us, and then I think as of late, it just kind of fizzled into nothing. Yeah, I mean, this bench is it's thin. Sure, I mean, I'll take Delano. There's not many options, right? So, but yeah, like Oren said, the hip injury I think was the main driver to him not playing, but he's back now, so we'll see. We'll see what Nick Nurse does.
Yep,
with the rotations, we'll see.
No knock to Saban Lee, but if you can roll Saban Lee out for 10 minutes, you can roll Downton out for 10 minutes or Banton out for 10 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. It's different styles of coaching where, again, like the Suns played 12 guys. He just found minutes for guys in good situations. And
okay, Oni-chan Kenobi, I think I pronounced that right, asks Oren, I don't know why Oren gets to answer this question.
I think it's
But
because I said Precious.
maybe
You
it's
know what?
'cause
Just
he's
for
the
that, I'm gonna
professional.
answer it.
He's the professional. Yeah, Oren, you're not allowed to answer this. He asked,
Okay.
Oren, if you like Precious at the 5, do you, and this says punctuation like Sham Sharani, unfortunately, but that's okay. Do you like a Precious and Koloko rotation for next year?
Yeah, that's what I would roll with.
But
I
a
think.
rotation, so they're not starting together, they're just rotating.
Yeah, like Koloko's the backup 5, Precious is the starting 5. That makes sense to me. Like this team could still use another center, don't get me wrong, because Precious is still not a traditional 5, but I wouldn't like give a first round pick for one. And I think if that was the rotation heading into next year, I wouldn't be mad about it. How about you guys?
I kind of would. For me at least, I don't know if Koloko's shown enough to be the backup 5 because I feel like we were in the same position last year. We were like, Delano and Malachi, do you guys think they could be the backup PG? Because there's always
True.
just the assumption of progression and development, right?
Yeah.
As the season goes along, and then they have one more training camp and all of that preseason. I'm not there yet. I think for the Raptors, Koloko should be your third center going into
I think
next
he
year.
needs another year, probably. That would be my guess.
Well, I would say the difference between Flynn and Banton and Koloko is that, like, if you look at the numbers, at least Koloko has been a winning player in his rookie season. Like, he's the best. He has the best defensive numbers on this team.
He's the best plus
And
minus, I think, per 100 possessions. On the
yeah,
team.
so I'm not saying like that progression will be linear or that he's going to be amazing or anything, but I think if you surround him, especially with like good players, and you just ask him to be a center and drop back and protect the rim, simple stuff, I just think he's capable of that on a backup basis.
Yeah. Maybe last question. Financial freedom, which sounds like a libertarian crypto bank. What's your opinion on the mock trade Crowder plus salary filler and 3 unprotected first round picks for OG?
Unprotected. I think you're gonna have a hard time getting 3 fully unprotected first round.
Oren believes in protection.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
I mean, we're not trading Paul George. I mean, it would be if you're trading Paul George, maybe you're looking at 3 unprotected.
I would probably do that just based on the unprotected ones, but in general, for an OG trade, I'd rather a mix of young players and picks. Like I like the Quickly deal more. I like the Emmanuel Quickly and picks deal from the Knicks more than this. But yeah, that's me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm still holding on to a Bones Island package of some sort, but
I don't know about Bones.
With Casey,
I like
with KCP attached. But
the quandary with all of this is like I don't think Toronto's interested in getting raw young guys and banking on the draft picks, right? Like you're saying, like I think they want guys that they can play next year immediately.
Yeah.
So I think. And they also don't want old dudes like Jay Crowder would probably be like flipped elsewhere. So
yeah,
it is this interesting balance. Like the Zaire Williams and 3 picks is a good example. Like Williams is not ready to play probably next year either. So that kind of rules it out. There's going to be a thin needle to thread here.
Yeah, exactly. It's a balance for sure. I like a deal based around like RJ Barrett for OG.
Yeah, RJ and 2 picks. Or no, 2 picks too much. Probably like
it's too much.
Well, actually, he's probably. I don't even know.
How much do we trust the Knicks to make smart decisions?
Well, but also
like if RJ going to target a team. It's the Knicks.
He's not played that well. Like he's not. He hasn't demonstrated that he's at the same value as OG. I don't want to be a biased fan, but
he's 22 though.
He is 22, and he has a lot of upside, and is offensively already better than OG. So.
All right, that's probably good.
All right,
I'll just end it off by saying, on my personal opinions, I just don't want OG in this division. I'd rather just ship him as far as you can away from the Raptors.
Yeah,
we'll end it off there.
He would lock up Siakam.
Yeah, that's what I'm scared of. And that is what I'm scared of. We'll end it off there. We appreciate each and every one of you for joining us tonight on a Monday night, which has just became a Tuesday morning, I guess you could say. It's another fairly late one, a 9 p.m.er. for the Suns game. It was enjoyable until the end, but I mean, it is what it is. Your Toronto Raptors were defeated by the Suns 114-106. That brings the Raptors record to 23-29, 6 games below 500. And before you leave us tonight, don't forget to leave us a like and subscribe to the Raptors Republic YouTube channel. Subscribe to the Rapcast podcast channel. That was it for myself, Sahal Abdi, Aiden Moss, Oren Weisfeld. We'll see you guys Wednesday night versus the Utah Jazz, who went from Cinderella to back where most people kind of believed they would be, right in the play-in kind of area. I'm excited to watch Lauri Markkanen, though. That should be fun. Thank you for spending time with us. We'll see you Wednesday night. Take care, and have a great one.